Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having a great day. It's been a while. Yeah, I've been slacking off a bit, so I do apologize for that. But I just been running through a few articles and been thinking about about not only these upcoming elections, but even future trends as well. And it's pertaining to the Democratic Party because, and this one really caught my eye. Because aside from all the redistricting part, I don't know why this is not big news. That this is something you're not going to hear from mainstream media. So I mean, independent channels like mine, yeah, you'll hear about this. But yeah, if you're a Democratic voter, you should have more angry. You should have more reasons to be angry with the establishment because for the past 4 years, they have completely dropped the ball on this issue, voter registration crisis. And it's like what I said before when it came to the Pennsylvania Democrats, like how Republicans look like they're about to overtake the Pennsylvania Democrats. It's because that the party continues to have no leadership, no vision, no plan, nothing to go around. All they can say is Trump is bad. But the problem is once Trump leaves, and you go up against someone like JD Vance or DeSantis, now what? So this is not only, so I believe that they're still continuing to lose voters because in Florida, um yeah, I mean, in Florida, basically the Republican lead continues to grow, and in other states like Pennsylvania, the lead is the Republican are closing the gap, and I mean they're closing the gap fast, real fast. I mean, that Pennsylvania Democrats, they lost what, close to 100,000 voters, and they just have they they just have a advantage of 59,000 voters from 1.1 million in 2008 down to 59K. Wow. I mean, if that's not a five alarm fire, I don't know what will. But let's just go through bits and pieces of this article. I'm not going to try to go too long. It's just a lot of fluff, but let's see. This is Democratic Party faces voter registration crisis. Well, what crisis do they not face? And it says in this excerpt, I know it's not covered, it says Florida has had a significant shift of registered voters in the Republican direction, a remarkable inverse that explains the state's transformation from perennial battleground to a new symbol of red America. That is so true, and nothing's being done to change that. So let's look at this chart right here. As you can see, this is the change in share of registered voters from 2020 to 2024. Now, as you can see, almost every state, every important state, battleground states, former Dem strongholds, as well as swing states, the share of Democratic voters have gone down, whereas the share of the Republican voters have gone up. Look, Florida gone up. I mean, sure, in some states it's gone down, like in Nevada, Oregon, California, Alaska, North Carolina, but overall, it's like, uh, it's it's like, let's look at what they say right here, saying the Democratic Party is hemorrhaging voters long before they even go to the polls. That's true. Of the 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single one between the 2020 and 2024 elections, and often by a lot. Yes, by a lot. I don't hear Rachel Maddow or MSNBC talking about it, or wherever the heck it is, MSN now. I don't know. I don't see CNN talking about this. I mean, look, and this is a complete indictment on the establishment Democrats again. I know I said that before, but I think I'm probably going to be saying this a couple more times. That you need to have people like the new candidate running for the Maine Senate, like Grant. I think his name is Grant Plattner. Yeah, we need to have populist candidates. But mark my words, the Democrat establishment will do everything they can to stop populist candidates from running. Because those who threaten the status quo, they're going to be stopped. Like, look what they're doing to people like Zoran Mandani, but I have some issues with them. I'll be discussing about that in a different video. So okay, but let's look at this. And that 4 year cycle swing toward the Republicans add up to 4.5 million voters, a deep political hole that could take years or decades at this rate for Democrats to climb out from. Huh. Yeah, continue playing with identity politics. You guys are going to still you guys are going to go the way of the Whigs. This if they don't change direction now, then I think by after 2032, if they lose a third consecutive election, yeah, this party's done for. In fact, in 2032, the electoral map is unfavorable for Dems. I got to cover a video. I got to create a video on that and explain to you why it might be unfavorable. Okay, so yeah, all right. I'm just going to go through bits and pieces. There's still more Democrats registered nationwide than Republicans because of big blue states like California allow people to register by party, while red states like Texas do not. But the trajectory is troublesome for Democrats, and there are growing tensions over what to do about it. Yes, they went from nearly 11 percentage point edge over Republicans on election day 2020. Those partisan places with, in those places with partisan registration, just over 6 percentage point edge in 2024. It's evening out. It's evening out. Now let's go to let's go to some of the nitty gritty. Says I don't want to say the death cycle of the Democrat Party, but there seems to be no end to this. Says Mike Pruser, who tracks voter registration closely and from Decision Desk. There's no silver lining or cavalry coming across the hill. This is month after month, year after year. Hey, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, you're doing one heck of a job. All right. Now it says the party saw some of its steepest declines in registration among men and younger voters. The Times analysis to constituencies that swung sharply toward Mr. Trump. Back in 2008, a lot of young voters, we were overwhelmingly Democrat. It was like a 2-to-1 edge. Now, to see that young Zoomers, they have swung sharply to the right. This is what happens when your political party transformed from party of economic justice or economic opportunity to just culture war nonsense. Yeah, continue playing culture war stuff. Continue shoving that stuff. Continue saying men are bad. You think that, that young men, like they just voted by Trump by a slim margin. Guess what? That number will grow bigger because if there's one thing I know is as people get older, their views shift. In fact, some people, they become more conservative over time and on certain issues. But continue to double down on stupidity like identity politics because people are rejecting that. Okay, let's continue any further. Let's talk about certain states. North Carolina, Republicans have raised 95% of the voter registration advantage that Democrats held in fall of 2020, according to the state records as of this summer. In Nevada, Democrats suffers the steepest percentage point plunge of any state but West Virginia between 2020 and 2024. Yeah, West Virginia's gone. The share of voters choosing to register with either party went down after the state adopted an automatic voter registration system, but the Democratic decline allowed Republicans to briefly surpass Democrats earlier this year. Yeah, let's look at this chart. Let's look at this. Consider this. In 2018, Democrats counted 34% of new voter registrations nationwide, while Republicans were only 20%. Yet by 2024, Republicans had overtaken Democrats among new registrants. Yeah, look at the decline. 2018, 34%, down to the 20s, whereas Republicans, you could say 19%, now going up to the high 20s. And that number is going to, and you know what? Anyone who says that 2026 is going to be a blue wave election, based on this data, I think it might be a blue trickle at best. We fell asleep at switch. Yeah, no kidding, said Maria Cardona, a veteran party strategist. But Democrats are divided and flummoxed over what to do. For years, the left has rallied on sprawling networks of nonprofits which solicit donations from people whose identities they need not disclosed to register Black, Latino, and younger voters. These groups are technically nonpartisan. The underlying assumption was that most of new registrants would vote Democratic. You know, wow. Oh boy, I might go off on this. This Mr. Trump ended the calculation with the inroads he made with working class non-white voters. You can't just register young Latino or young black voter and assume they're going to know that it's Democrats that have the best policies. Yeah, you got to explain to it. You got to have bold ideas. I don't see anything coming out of this party. That's why the donations are going down. That's why this party looks like it's dying. Oh, jeez. Man. Okay, let's look. Tom Bonnier, one of the Democrats' leading experts on voter registration trends, spent much of 2024 downplaying the seriousness of his party's resignation votes. He has come around and says, I was wrong. Yeah, no kidding. He said in an interview, clearly the retrospective, we can't say that the Democrat Party had dug itself in too deep of a hole in the preceding years for the Harris campaign to dig itself out for the last few months. Added Mr. Bonnier, referring to the 2024 bid by former Vice President Harris. He calls registration figures a big flashing red alert. You know, these people who run the Democratic Party, they are, to say that they're out of touch is an understatement. They live in a different reality. I mean, I'll tell you this. Last year, I remember that in Florida, I think it was Hillsborough County, Florida. Yes, which is home to Tampa, in the city of Tampa. Yeah, everyone is like the people who run the party. They thought that, oh yeah, well, we don't have to worry about the voters registration numbers. We'll just get the independents and have the Democrats outnumber. It's like, hey, what if the the independents vote the other way? They just downplay the seriousness of it. And you know what happened? Hillsborough County, home of Tampa, flipped red. This is what you're dealing with. A bunch of old timers, establishment Dem hacks, and who are just out of touch, out of step with reality, having no idea what's going on. And then when reality hits them, they have no idea what to do, but the damage is already done. Look what's happening. Last year, Bucks County, comparative suburb, tilted Republican registration for the first time since 2007. According to the state records, in the fall, Mr. Trump became the first Republican president to carry the county this century. That is true. Miami-Dade, where the number of active voters in the county zoomed past Democrats just months after Mr. Trump became the first Republican president candidate to carry the county in decades. So, yeah, I mean, that's true. Although, I think Miami-Dade might flip this 2026 cycle because of all the ICE activities going on and all the Cubans that are getting rounded up by ICE. So, a lot of things are a bit tense down there. North Carolina could be the best battleground state to tip. State records show the Democratic edge is down to less than 17,000 from nearly 400,000 4 years ago. Oh my God. Oh man. Woo! I'm telling you, man, the identity politics have destroyed the party. Identity politics has destroyed the party, and this is what it's relegated to, down to a joke. I mean, by the looks of it, how many states are going to become red? I tell you this, the moment that New Jersey starts flipping red and the registration, it's not entirely impossible, but if Republicans one day exceed Democrats in the state of New Jersey one day, yeah, that's the end of the Democratic Party. Whew. Yeah, that's what I had to say. Pennsylvania may be on the deck. Yeah, I already discussed that, down to 53,000 voters. Much of that's from party switchers from 2020 through 2025. Nearly twice as many Democrats switched to become Republicans. The other way around. Oh, that's the other way around. State records show. Yeah, yeah, that's true. A lot of the conservative Democrats have now become Republicans. They used to be ancestral Dems. Like you're talking about union voters, farmers. Yeah, they also used to vote for Democrats back in the 2000s. I mean, you looked at like my favorite map of that Ed Rendell 2006 election. That western part of the state used to be ancestral Democratic stronghold. But now that's all Trump country. I mean, it's hard to believe that that was once a Democratic stronghold. But because it was a Democratic stronghold, that does not mean they were culturally liberal. They were they were socially conservative, but economically to the left. That's the difference. These days, um, the Democratic Party is economically neoliberal and socially insane. Yeah, I really mean it. Socially insane. People have rejected this agenda and they still want to keep to it. It's like I can't. It's like we cannot work when the whole focus is on social issues. How are we going to make any progress on the economic front? Yeah, signs of struggle among men and younger voters and Latinos. Yes. Democrats' Party diminished appeal to men and younger voters was evident in the partisan registration data long before it became apparent to everyone in the 2024 election. Not so long ago, Democrats had 2018 had accounted for 66% of new voters for under 45. Yet by 2024, the Democratic Party had shared to 48%. You know what I think is the reason why the drastic shift? I think it was because of they had people like Bernie Sanders. Like there was a lot of young people that voted for that wanted a Bernie, and I think they still kept even after he got robbed of the nomination. They still had hope that yes, he was going to become the nominee in 2020. But once it became Joe Biden, when Joe Biden became the nominee and he started just to continue his lame excuses and want to continue his that same old neoliberal third way playbook, I think people just fell out of favor of the Democrats. A lot of the Bernie Sanders supporters fell out of favor of the Democrats, and you know what? Some of them probably started voting Republicans. Others they just became independents, and some just sat out the election. Okay, so let me see. Okay, the story's even bleaker in Democrats in some key states. In Nevada, which releases particular data, detailed data, Republicans added nearly twice as many voters under 35 to the rolls as Democrats did last year. The shifts among male voters tell a similar story. Yes. Yes. I can go into the statistics. Now let's look at this. A fierce debate over reversing distressing trend. Within the small community of Democratic data and voter registration experts, confidential memo circulated early last year was explosive. Aaron Strauss, a data scientist who spent years studying how to elect Democrats, wrote the old ways of registering voters, working through nonprofit groups to enroll young people and people of color in generally, rather than explicitly seeking new Democrats, might actually backfire in 2024. If you're blindly registering non-voters to get them to the rolls, we would be distinctly aiding Trump's quest for a personal dictatorship. Okay. Ah, boy. Jeez. Okay. Argued that the left needs to target its new voters more surgically because Trump's support was growing amongst traditional Democratic constituencies. Registering voters without regard to political beliefs remain cost effective for Democrats only with black voters. With other demographic groups, especially partisan groups, ought to make explicitly partisan arguments in order to actually benefit Democratic campaigns. You know, what do they really stand for? I mean, first of all, the fact that these nonprofit groups are just registering non-white voters and assume they're going to vote Democrat, that's pretty insulting. That's an insult to their intelligence, man. I mean, you can't just assume based on someone's skin color who the heck they're going to vote for. I mean, that's just messed up. Ah, jeez. Yeah, once again, this party has no freaking idea what the hell to do. Yeah, so there it is. These people, it's like I said, they have no vision, no plan, no strategy, no leadership, nothing. They all think that, oh, well, we just got to get enough people to get angry at Trump. Just by this voter registration data, it looks like this might become a blue trickle. And I'm telling you, like, if this continues, Pennsylvania will become the new Ohio by 2030. And I mean that it will become a red state and it'll be very difficult for it to reverse the trend. I mean, look what happened to states like Ohio. They're a red state. I mean, Sherrod Brown got defeated last year. I have no idea why he wants to run this. I mean, this upcoming cycle. Because even if he wins, he has to run in 2028, and John Houston could come back and go for his sweet revenge. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. It's like I just don't know. Like what this? I mean, this party's becoming the Whigs. It says it by the data. The party's becoming the Whigs. These experts are still in denial. They still like to blame all this that half of the country. It's like you're not going to win if you trash half the country. Ah, boy, that's been a long day. Man, this party's hopeless. Once again, establishment Democrats know how to fail upward and failing hard, and it doesn't seem like it's ending. Yeah, that's all I have to have. That's all I have. I mean, there's not, if you're a Democratic voter or a left leaning voter, yeah, you're not happy with this news. But this is a hint of reality. It's something you're not going to see on CNN and MSNBC. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why, because they want people, because, CNN, CM, and MSNBC, or MS now, they just rather care about dumbing people down by saying Trump bad, and fear mongering. That's all they have. Anyway, yeah, I'm done with this article. So once again, Democrats, they're in free fall voter registration. I mean, they're just a free fall overall. And I don't know and I don't even know if they can even recover from this. I'm going to be blunt. I don't think they're going to recover from this, because in states like Florida, yeah, I don't see any. I mean, I don't see them. I don't know. I mean, some local parties seem to have a better grasp of idea, but the leadership at the top, like the Florida Democratic Party, they don't seem to have any idea what the heck they're doing. So that's how I feel about that's what's happening with the National Democratic Party as well. So this party looks like it's well on its way to becoming the Whigs 2.0, or the Whigs of the 21st century. Anyway, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.